On February 24, 1989, the Atlantic City Convention Hall set the stage for David vs. Goliath showdown. Roberto Duran, the aging legend, was about to face his biggest challenge yet. Literally, standing across the ring was Iran the Blade Barkley, a man who towered over Duran in both height and reach. At 37 years old, many thought Duran was past his prime and had no business fighting for a middleweight title. But on this cold night in Atlantic City, Duran was determined to prove that size doesn't always matter. This is the story of when Duran confronted a giant and etched his name in boxing history once again. Roberto Duran entered this fight as a massive underdog, a far cry from his dominant days as the lightweight champion. At 37 years old, many believed Duran was well past his prime. Standing at just 5'7" and barely scraping the 160-pound middleweight limit, he was physically dwarfed by the 6'1" Barkley. How could the former lightweight champion possibly compete against such a physically imposing opponent? Duran's journey to this fight had been a roller coaster of highs and lows. After his infamous No Mas fight against Sugar Ray Leonard in 1980, Duran had struggled to recapture his former glory. He had suffered humiliating defeats to Thomas Hearns in 1984, getting knocked out for the first time in his career, and lost a competitive but clear decision to Marvin Hagler in 1983. Many boxing pundits believed Duran was simply cashing in on his name for one last payday. But those who knew Manos de Piedra understood that the fire still burned within him. Duran had been written off before, only to rise from the ashes time and time again. He'd already won world titles in 3 weight classes, from lightweight to light middleweight. Could he possibly have one more miracle left in those legendary fists? Duran's preparation for this fight was intense. He knew he couldn't afford to give away any advantages to the larger Barkley. In the weeks leading up to the bout, Duran honed his skills, focusing on his inside fighting and legendary body punching. He was determined to prove that his experience and ring IQ could overcome Barkley's physical advantages. As he stepped into the ring that night in Atlantic City, Duran carried with him the weight of his legacy. A win would cement his place among boxing's all-time greats. A loss could signal the end of his storied career. The odds were stacked against him, but Duran had made a career out of defying expectations. Could he do it one more time against the talented and dangerous Iran Barkley? Iran the Blade Barkley was no pushover champion hand-picked for an aging star. At 28 years old, Barkley was in his physical prime and riding high on the biggest win of his career. Just 8 months earlier, he had shocked the boxing world by knocking out the great Thomas Hearns in 3 rounds to capture the WBC middleweight title. This was the same Hearns who demolished Duran in 2 rounds in 1984, adding another layer of intrigue to this matchup. Barkley's rise to the top had been anything but easy. Born and raised in the tough Bronx neighborhoods of New York, he had overcome a difficult upbringing to become world champion. Barkley was known for his devastating power and relentless pressure style, earning him the nickname The Blade for his sharp and cutting punches. Standing at 6'1" with a 74-inch reach, Barkley towered over the much smaller Duran. Many experts believed Barkley would simply overwhelm the older, smaller challenger with his size and strength. The champion had dreams of unification bouts and big paydays ahead. All he had to do was get past this faded legend who was little more than a speed bump on his road to greatness. As the fight approached, Barkley was confident. But would his physical advantages be enough to overcome Duran's vast experience and legendary skill set?
Duran is going to have to make Barkley miss and counter and move to the side the way he just did then.
As the opening bell rang, the size difference between the two men was stark.
Slips the punch, right hand right over that left hand of Barkley. What a beautiful...
Barkley towered over Duran, his muscular frame casting a shadow across the ring. But Duran, ever the crafty veteran, had a game plan. He bobbed and weaved, making himself a difficult target for Barkley's powerful shots. Surprisingly, Barkley started the fight strong. On one judge's scorecard, he won 7 of the first 8 rounds. Another judge had him winning 4 of the first 8. The champion's size and strength seemed to be giving him an early advantage. But Duran, showcasing the skills that have made him a legend, refused to back down.
1972. Good left hook by Roberto Duran.
He went toe-to-toe with his much larger opponent, landing numerous overhand rights that began to turn the tide. As the fight progressed, Duran's experience and ring generalship started to shine through. But could he keep this pace up for all 12 rounds against a much younger, stronger opponent? The 11th round would prove to be the decisive moment of the fight. Duran, sensing the opportunity to seize control, unleashed a furious assault on Barkley. In a stunning sequence, he landed 3 consecutive right hands that sent the champion crashing to the canvas. The crowd erupted as Barkley hit the deck.
Right fight. Barkley's in trouble. He's down.
It was the fight's lone knockdown and a clear statement from Duran that he was not to be underestimated. Barkley managed to beat the count, but he was clearly dazed from the exchange. As the round ended, Barkley was in such a state of confusion that he momentarily wandered the ring, unable to find his corner. This dramatic turn of events swung the momentum firmly in Duran's favor, heading into the final round. As the 12th and final round began, both men knew the fight was still up for grabs. Barkley, his pride wounded, came out swinging with everything he had left. Duran, sensing victory was within reach, met fire with fire. The two warriors stood toe-to-toe, trading thunderous blows in the center of the ring. The crowd was on its feet, witnessing a battle that would go down in boxing lore. As the final bell rang, both men raised their arms, believing they'd done enough to win. But only one man could leave as champion. The judges' scorecards would tell the tale of this epic confrontation. Michael Buffer prepared to read the scorecards. Had Duran done enough to overcome the odds and claim yet another world title? Or would Barkley's size and youth prove too much for the aging legend? The first scorecard, 116-113 for Barkley. The second, 118-112 for Duran. It all came down to the final judge's card.
For the winner and
Against all odds, the 37-year-old had climbed the mountain once again. Duran's victory over Barkley would go down as one of the greatest performances in boxing history. At an age when most fighters are long retired, Duran had captured a world title in his 4th weight class. He'd overcome a significant size advantage through sheer skill and determination. The fight was named Ring Magazine's Fight of the Year for 1989. For Barkley, this loss was a bitter pill to swallow. He had underestimated the heart of a true champion and paid the price. Duran's victory served as a reminder that in boxing, size isn't everything. Skill, experience, and an indomitable will can overcome even the most daunting physical advantages. Duran's performance that night cemented his legacy as one of boxing's all-time greats. It proved that even in the twilight of his career, he was still capable of producing magic in the ring. The next time someone tells you that something's impossible, remember Roberto Duran. If you got a kick out of Roberto Duran facing off against a behemoth, wait until you see our video of Alexander Usyk tackling the same size matters dilemma. Until next time.